Start your week smiling with your friends, Kathy Zant and Michelle Frechette. It's time to get ready for some weekly motivation with WP Motivate. Happy Friday, Kathy.
Happy Friday, Michelle. How are you? I
I'm
can't
good.
sing. I tried
That's
to sing
okay.
there and I'm just like, I'm
Not gonna do it.
not happening today.
Not happening. So last time or the time before, I saw kind of rolled into my head, what we talked about. But recently we talked about like we've sensed some negativity and things like that in the community and how
Mm-hmm.
to overcome and how you gotta take the good with the bad. And then this week I saw one of your tweets that kind of made me think about how we keep going on. So you said, I've stuck with a new habit.
Yes.
Weight training
Oh, I've
solved
been
all
all
sorts
about
of
habits this week. Oh, I could talk this topic to the ground.
that
I've been
you
researching and reading and thinking and contemplate. Oh, I've got
yeah.
habit. Let's go.
So I was thinking like there are some things that they say if you do something like 7 times, it becomes a habit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that like you get into the role. I have been on, I have to tell you, this is funny. I have to actually look it up. Hold on. I have completed, open up phone. Hurry up, don't make me wait. I have completed how many days? I have completed 1,230 days of Duolingo.
Oh, wow.
And yet, I have to get the email reminder or the pop up on my phone that goes, "You haven't practiced yet today," because it's not ingrained in me to just log in and do it. So, is my habit that I am habitually waiting for notifications or what? Because I do want to do it, but it gets to be like 10 o'clock at night and I've done a million things during the day and I'm laying on the couch and it's like, you have an hour and a half left to make your, keep your streak or whatever. And I'm like, gotta speak Spanish today. But but developing healthy habits, we all have negative habits, right? Like
Yeah.
those those are not too difficult to keep up. They're harder to break. But developing those healthy habits and like doing your weight training and doing things we like, super
Yeah.
easy usually, right? Like when Claire was like really into horses, you didn't have to say, let's go to the barn because she'd be like at the door waiting with her whatever horse accoutrements you have to take with you. I don't know, not a barn girl. But
Expensive crap. Yes.
yes, exactly. Right? And like nobody ever has to say, Michelle, you might need more Legos, right? Because like I just like I'm always looking.
Yeah.
But developing the healthy habit outside of things that just inherently bring us joy, it's not so easy all the time, especially when
Yeah.
it's something that is for our own edification and we just don't wanna. So I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit today because you seem to be on the right track and I'm just still hitting my couch at the end of every day. So talk
Well,
about habits and how you're working on that.
yeah, so here's my actually, I've been thinking about this topic for years because when I was up in Mount Shasta, there was this meadow that I would go to with my dog, and four of the neighbors' dogs who saw me walking my dog and were like, we're game. We know where she's going.
Can
She's
we go
going to the
too?
meadow. Yes, exactly. So I would come home with like, and then everybody would get a treat, and then they knew their way home. So it was, yeah, it was wonderful, but there was this
Mhm.
huge meadow and way about a mile away, like, so there's Mount Shasta and Black Butte, and about a mile away there was a train track, and then there was a creek that went through it, and of course it's like dog heaven. It's also people heaven. I loved this meadow, and but it was all grass, right? Grass was growing everywhere. And there were some places where we'd walk in and other neighbors, everybody went in there. We weren't supposed to, but we did. And there were some places where the grass had gotten, walked on, the trails. And I realized as I was in there, the thought occurred to me that this is how our minds work. Our minds work by looking for the path of least resistance, the easiest way to do things. And the more times we think a thought, the more that becomes like the neural pathway in our brain.
Mm.
The more it's like a road through a meadow. If you keep driving or walking through one, that you keep going the same route, that's the route. But it might not be the fastest, it might not be the best, it might not be the healthiest route. And so
Mhm.
then you have to go a different way. But if the weeds have all grown in and you have to walk through the weeds, it's not comfortable. It doesn't feel right. It's not the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like going against the momentum of your thoughts or going against the momentum of your life. And
Mm-hmm.
to change a habit, like, okay, every morning I wake up and I go and I have my coffee and I sit and I check my social media, to I wake up and I put my shoes on and I go outside and I walk or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Or with my coffee, which is still one of my favorite habits, I
Mine too.
have a scone. And oh my God, up until last year, my habit was coffee and baked good. Coffee and what's I love scones. That's like my thing. So coffee and a scone. So this habit and a bad, but it was screwing up my blood sugar and screwing up my
Mm-hmm.
metabolism and everything. And I had to stop. My blood sugar readings were like flipping me off and saying,
Mm.
you can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
So I had to change that habit. I had to stop the association with coffee. I had to put a new association in there of like protein, which I'm just like, I hate it. But now I'm like, that's what I do.
Yeah.
But it's the momentum. I go this way. This is the road I go down. And trying to change a
Mm-hmm.
habit and go in a different way is so hard. But
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the reasons why like I wanted to tie this into like what makes it easier if you know yourself and you know like little tricks you can play on yourself and you know
Mm-hmm.
how you're motivated. You can break habits easier. You can establish a healthier habit easier because you know how you're motivated. Like I know when I do something new, I want to inspire other people to do something new because look at how it worked for me. And here's my story because I've
Yeah.
got influencer as one of my things. And I like to do new things because I'm like visionary is one of my things. So it ties in with work.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to play at work this week.
I love
I
that.
couldn't I couldn't go to the company retreat, but I found ways to play on my own with things that were really super interesting to me and that I hope help people. So there's a blog post and a video that as soon as I have the featured image is going up too. So
Nice.
uh yeah, so I'm creating lots of content on habits right now.
Well, that's
And
great. So
also thinking
this was the perfect topic to bring up to you then.
it is. It is. I'm so glad you did. I'm like, oh, I could talk about this. I've got all these things. So, but yeah, in Shasta, before Shasta, I didn't walk every single morning. I did when I was like 22. I would like walk every single morning and then the afternoon I'd go for bike rides, but I didn't for the longest time. And then in Shasta, I started walking every single morning and I realized I've been doing that for 14 years, walking at least a mile and a half every single morning.
I love that.
14 years.
That's a long time. That's
That's
a good habit.
that's a habit.
Yep.
There was a lady in Shasta, June. She lived across the street. She was 93 and she walked that 1.5 mile loop. She walked every morning with her dog, Andy. Andy was kind of gross, but she and Andy would walk every morning and then they'd walk again every night. And so she was walking 3 miles a day at 93. And I was
Wow.
like, when I'm 93, I want to be just like June.
I hear
Like I
that.
would want to be
You
able to.
you made me think about college. So when I went to college, I lived on campus and you've got all of the college grounds and whatever. It wasn't a big college, but there were the cement paths, right? The paved pathways for us. And then there's all of these, like the grass will no longer grow there paths
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
people walked direct routes instead of staying on the sidewalks. And I remember like the people that were, because I worked at that college after I graduated, and like the groundskeepers were just, oh, beside themselves, trying to get people to stay on the paths. I went back there many years later, and guess what was there? A sidewalk. Because instead of
Yeah.
trying to fight it, they put a sidewalk in where people want to walk, which makes a
Yeah.
whole lot more sense, right? Because sometimes the path of least resistance or the most direct path is the best path. And instead of fighting people on it, let them have that habit because it gets them where they need to faster or it's a prettier walk or whatever. But I also
Yeah.
think about the way that rivers flow.
Hmm.
Because if you look at rivers from above, like I think of like the oxbows and things like that in a river, the ones that really look serpentine and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to look at that and think that that was the path of least resistance for the river to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But there's things we don't know that
Right.
caused that to happen, which is like where the it was easier for things to erode away and the bedrock wasn't as, difficult and all those things, and the topsoil could wash away faster and whatever. I mean, I'm not a geologist, but I understand that much of it,
Yes.
right? And so I love that idea that the path of least resistance or the most tread path isn't necessarily the one that looks like it would be the easiest
Yeah.
either. And so sometimes
Yeah.
developing those
Yeah.
healthy habits isn't like what you think you should do, but where you actually gravitate toward, maybe. Does that make sense?
Right. Well, and yeah, and then it's also like if you asked me a year ago, Kathy, you're gonna have just eggs and sausage for breakfast, I would have been like, no, I'm not. Like, I just was not.
Guess again.
I like when I realized when I took that blood sugar reading, I was like, jeez, ah, man, this is not good. I took the scones and I threw them in the freezer. I'm like, I'll just have little ones. Now there's no scones in the house at all. But like last
Hmm.
year, I was not going to let go of that habit. I was not going
Yeah.
to let go of that was my thing. It was my coping mechanism for the stress of my life, carbohydrates and cookies and scones. And I wasn't there, but as you have to start like with what can you do?
Hmm.
Okay. Like, and you just start like super small, super duper small. Like the stuff I've been going to the gym now for since December, and I am doing things now that I couldn't do at all. I mean, I literally told the guy my daughter dragged me. I mean, I didn't go because I wanted to, but they were like $9 for additional family member. And I'm like, well, I'm going to kick myself if I don't at least try.
Hmm.
And I just he's like, what are your fitness goals? And I'm like, to not die here. Like literally, I don't
Bare
want to
minimum.
die
We're look
here.
the bar is low.
Was super low. But now I'm like walking lunges. All right, don't like them. And I look at other people doing them and I'm like, they do them with better form than I do, but I can do them. I can do them and I don't need to hold on to something anymore. And I'm doing that. I'm doing stuff that I couldn't do before. And so and I
Hmm.
really can recognize that, how far I have come. I I have protein shakes. I when I started the exercise thing, no way.
Yeah.
Blech, they're nasty. They're nasty. Here I am, like, you know what? It's actually not that bad.
It is
So I have
interesting.
changed.
It's interesting how our tastes change and our will to
Yeah.
do different things changes over time. I remember as a kid, mushrooms were the most disgusting thing on the face of this earth. Now, like, load up anything I'm eating, like, put the mushrooms on. If somebody says, do you want truffle fries? Heck yeah, I want truffle on my fries. Right? Like, when I was a kid, it would be like, why is it so musty? Right? But like,
Yeah.
our taste changed. Like, sharp cheddar's good. Extra sharp, seriously sharp, that's even better. Right? But like, yeah, so as we grow, our tastes change, the things we enjoy change, and the things we can force ourselves to start and then learn to love change too.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. It's weird how and these types of things are, what do they say? Like you are the sum of the small things that you do every day, and they become big
Mhm.
things, and it becomes big movement and the momentum shifts if you just keep going with the momentum of where you are and keep doing what if you keep doing what you've been doing and you wake up every day and you do what you did yesterday, nothing's going to change because but if you do like small little things, gamify the whole thing. Like if you're trying to, like quitting smoking, that's tough. Had to do that long ago, but I did. Shh, don't tell
Mhm.
Claire.
Pretty sure she doesn't
But I
listen to our
did
podcast.
way yeah, I'm sure she doesn't. But way long time ago I had to do that. And like, gosh, going into a bar where people are drinking and like smoking at the same, like I could not do that. I could not go in and have a drink because of the association, like coffee and
Mm,
carbs, like smoking and drinking, like boy, that's a bad one. So I just know,
yeah.
nope, not gonna do that. But yeah, you have to start with where you're at. And there's a reason also that the 12-step program says like
Mm,
I'm not gonna like today. It's just one
right.
day at a time.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, like with real serious addiction types of stuff, it's like 1 hour at a time. I've known some people who have had some serious alcohol addiction issues, and like it's 1 hour at a time. It's like, I'm going to make it to noon. I'm going to make
Hmm.
it to noon without a drink. And it's just like, I am so proud of you. Like, what do you do? Like,
Yeah.
this
Hour
is
by
me.
hour.
It's,
Hmm.
yeah. Taylor Swift has that song, This Is Me Trying. And it's all about, people dealing with that kind of stuff. And I just feel for people because I've had, my family's got loads of addiction issues. So,
I think every family has something like that, like things that we are trying to break away from for sure. I'll tell you,
yeah.
my newest, I mean, I call it a healthy habit because it is, but it's just a little bit different
Yeah.
than your healthy habit, is after 2 years of not even like having let all of my prescriptions expire. After my dad died, I didn't go back to the doctor's office. Everything just expired. I was off my blood pressure meds and everything. Is I started taking blood pressure meds again about 3 weeks ago, and I've only missed 2 days, which I think is actually not bad because trying to get in the habit of taking medication every single day again
Yeah.
was a little bit difficult. But I was only able to do that because 4 years ago, when I had a cancer scare, the doctor said, make sure you're taking multivitamins every day. And so I started taking multivitamins because I didn't want cancer, right? So, like,
Yeah.
pretty simple. And because I take my multivitamins almost every day, again, sometimes I fall asleep on the couch and I forget, right? But I'm doing so much better because I have a set routine when I go to bed now. And so I always do the medicate, do the multivitamins, which are gummies, like a gummy vitamin, like the one that's immunity, another one for women, and then I take I take fiber gummies every
Yeah.
day too, because otherwise, woman in her 50s, let's
Yeah.
just leave it at that. But that's like 6 gummies, and that's like dessert. So now I don't eat dessert anymore because like I have this like handful of sweet flavored gummies at the end of the day. And then
Yeah.
I have my medication on my nightstand, which is where I keep a little refrigerator with water in it. And so when I get in bed, I take my meds, put the water away because I wake up in the middle of the night it's so dry sometimes, so I keep water there. And so that's my new routine, is that, I added the second step, which was taking the blood pressure medications. I haven't taken my blood pressure since then, but I assume that because I'm taking the
Yeah.
medications, I'm doing better. So little steps, right? But I'm
Yeah.
developing that habit again, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good to get things into a routine. I was not in a supplement routine at all, but I had to start managing Mark's medications for him, and that made me have to get into my routine. But I had a whole therapy session of, why is it do I make sure that he gets his meds and I forget mine?
Mm,
Like, how is that? Like today, I haven't taken my morning stuff, my morning vitamins. He's had his meds though. Like, how is it that I take care of other people so well? And it's like myself, I have to like force
mm.
myself. I have to create these habits to do it because it's like I'm so, that's a whole other episode.
Pretty sure part of it
But
is being women, and we're caregivers, we're not
yeah,
caretakers, right? We
yeah,
ca- we
yeah,
we give care to everybody else, but we don't necessarily take care of ourselves like we're supposed to. That's for sure. But
yeah,
also sometimes there's like in my psyche, sometimes it's like everybody else deserves it, but I don't. Right? Like I said about dating last week. Like I did say that about dating. Like there are some people that I'm like, oh, I have to swipe left because there's no way that guy, if he met me, would actually like me. Right. And have that kind of self-doubt in your own head. So it's like, well, everybody else deserves to be taken care of, but I can go thirsty. Everybody else can have, and I'll have a little tiny piece of dinner while everybody else is taken care of. Just because
yeah.
that's kind of how we're raised, right? And as I love my mom, love my dad, but they did not raise my family that women were equal to men. And so I just had that mindset that I've had to overcome all those years.
I wonder if it's possible to change a habit, like, or create a habit of self care. Or I think it would have to be a collection of habits
Hmm.
of self care. Like, because you're changing the momentum, right? You're changing the momentum of put
Hmm.
everybody else first, or do, your parents like making you do all of the stuff that they want done, and what about
Yeah.
you? That kind of thing. There's all this momentum against, or of putting other people first. Can you change the momentum to put yourself first and make that the primary habit? I think that's like the undercurrent of what
Yeah.
I am trying to do right now.
And like you said, it doesn't have to be everything all at once. You start to accumulate them.
Yeah.
Maybe it's walking and then it's weight training on top of that. And then it's adding protein shakes or whatever order it went in. For me, it's like, all right, you're taking your meds every day now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also have a water cooler. You can't see it, but I have one of those big old huge water coolers that I had at the office
Yeah.
from when I had an office. And that actually is in my office now. So you watch me drink coffee, but this is always it's empty right now because I literally just finished it. But I drink
Yeah.
water all day long now, where I didn't used to hydrate as I should have. I'm less hungry and
Yep.
I feel better because I'm hydrating more. So it's those little habits that
Yeah.
start to accumulate, I think. If you try to do it all
Yeah.
at
I
once,
think
it's
you're
not going to
right.
happen because it'll be
Right.
overwhelming.
No. Right. And I think also setting the intention and saying, like making the decision. There's something about making a decision of like, you know what? I would like my life to be more about me and less. I'm still going to make sure everybody is cared for, but I would like my life to be more about me. It's time. And
Yeah,
then once you set that as a decision and an intention, then you know that, and then, of course, knowing how you're motivated too and knowing what motivates you, coupling intention and motivation together, I think can be really powerful to help you, like, because you're making that decision every time somebody walks into the kitchen and says,
hmm
I'm hungry, they're making a decision. Every time somebody wakes up in the morning, it's like, okay, well, what's going to be the first few things that you do for the day? Like, what's going to be your routine? Like, if you're going to make a momentous decision to take better care of yourself,
yeah,
I think having that motivation, understanding your motivation, and having the intention together can be really powerful. I'm just now coming up with this.
I love it.
I might need to
Well,
write a blog post about it.
I'll read it. I read almost all of your blog posts. If I see them, I read them. I don't always see them. That's the only reason I don't always read them. But I'm constantly reminded. I used to work at a massage school, and every trite saying that you could possibly think of about self-care was said at a massage school, right? It's
Yeah.
and not everybody who goes there is granola, but there are so many granola people that come through there, and it's all about feelings and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, and so grain of salt, some of it, right? But one of the phrases that kept coming up over and over and over again, because we really did try to teach self-care to massage therapists, because it is a very physical job, is that you can't pour from an empty vessel.
Yeah.
And it feels like just such a trite thing to say until you really start to internalize that you really can't. There's nothing in you to give. If you are not taking care of yourself, how could you take care of other people? But I'm going to take it one step further. Like, not only has my vessel been empty a lot, but my vessel's been cracked and broken into a million pieces so that you couldn't possibly even feed yourself or care for yourself. And so in my head, over the last few years, the art of, I'm going to probably say it wrong, kintsugi and the idea of not pouring from an empty vessel have kind of come together. And that kintsugi or kintsugi, I really don't know how to say it, I'm sorry, but is where you take gold and you
Yeah.
repair those vessels with gold to show not only are they fixed, but they're so important that you fix them with the most expensive thing and the most dear thing that you could possibly have, which is that gold. If you can fix your vessel so that it's really means something and is meaningful and you value it, which is being valuing yourself, then you can see why it needs to be filled and why you have to complete yourself or at least take care of yourself in order to take care of others. I think those things can
Yeah.
go together so well.
Yeah. I agree. Eventually, I think spirit or the serendipity of the universe
Hmm.
wants you to take care of yourself. Because here's the thing, I have not always been, I've been the caretaker. I've been and this is just a pattern of my life. It's not just because of the stuff I deal with Mark, but
Hmm.
I think with Mark, I've really seen no matter what I do, I can't fix it. It is a black hole of pouring myself into it
Hmm.
because if he doesn't want to and he doesn't want to, I can't make him. I
Right.
can I could drop everything. I could quit my job and spend all day long getting him better and he's going to fight me every step of the way. And I'm
Hmm.
just like finally surrendered to it of just like mm-mm, nope.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just going to be a husk of yourself. You're not going to have anything left. And that's not fair to
Exactly.
you. It's not fair to your kids. It's not fair to your job. It's not fair to any your dogs. Like any of the people and situations that rely on you. It's like I often think about, do you ever notice that lived in houses don't tend to look run down? Even like when I my ex-husband and I had a house, like it never looked run down, but we weren't doing a lot of upkeep on it. But just the fact that people lived in there kind of breathed some life into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You drive down a road and you see an empty, dilapidated house. And it's
Yeah.
like, is it just because it
Chaos.
didn't have any spirit left in it? Like that kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Or maybe another spirit moved in. Doo doo doo. You know, they all look a little
Poltergeist? No,
bit
I don't, yeah.
haunted.
It's true. That is true. That is true. And I watch enough. I got stuck on Appalachian TikTok the other day,
Oh,
where it's
really?
like, like there's so many superstitions and like hear your name shouted in the woods and don't answer and like everything gets locked and all of the curtains get closed at night because the skinwalkers and like I know I've taken this down a really strange path, but like there's so many things like I think about when you talk about like things moving in spirits, good spirits
Yeah.
and bad spirits. Like I
Yeah.
make sure that you close your blinds of your heart or of your psyche or whatever it is to protect yourself too.
Yeah.
Just all of it. Just all of it. Lock the doors. Keep out the bad stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Craziness. But yeah, so you've inspired me, whether you realize it or not, seeing
Oh,
your
good.
wherewithal and everything to continue your positive habits has got me thinking about it too. So hopefully other people are seeing it and picking up on that. And hopefully today, our talk today might inspire somebody to think about keeping up with something that they know they should do. At the very least, like get a manicure or something to make yourself feel a little bit better and drink your water.
Self-care. The
Yeah,
habit of self-care. I think that would be
this is our title.
maybe our title.
I love it. I love it. At one point in time, I think I read the Seven Habits of was that the
Highly
Seven
effective
Habits of
people.
highly
Yeah.
effective people? I almost said healthy people. I knew that
Yeah.
was wrong. Way back in the day.
Yeah.
There's some
Yeah.
truth to some
That
of those things.
Stephen Covey.
Hmm.
My family was like the bathroom was like Wayne Dyer. The like there was like
Yeah.
the motivation of the bathroom, like there's a bookshelf of like anything. So that was like,
Hmm.
my house was full. Like Tony Robbins, all like in the early days, Tony Robbins, like he was part of our house and
Yeah.
everything. And so it's yeah, I kind of grew up with all of that stuff. But it's
Yeah.
good. I mean, I think it's important to constantly be evaluating where are you in your life? Where
Hmm.
do you want to be in your life? Um, and also celebrating how far you've come, because no matter where you are right now, you've come from somewhere.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, it's a habit for me to walk every single morning, but for 14 years of walking at least a mile and a half every single day, I think I
Yeah.
should celebrate that.
Absolutely.
That's a long time.
Buy yourself
But
some
I'd
new
rather do
sneakers or
that.
something.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I go through them. So,
I
but
believe it.
yeah, the dogs kind of help. But anyway,
Yeah. So that's all I got. But thank you for your messaging of keeping on and developing those habits, and hopefully other people will too. So thank you, Kathy.
awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
this
I'm so glad something I wrote resonated.
always does. This is one that I really wanted everybody else to hear too, though. So that's why. Anyway, we'll see
Thank
everybody
you.
else next week on our wonderful little podcast. For it's really more for us than for them, I think, but hopefully other people get something out of it too.
Yeah, I
You're
hope
my
so too.
therapy, Kathy. Anyway, we'll see everybody next week. Bye.
Bye.
This has been WP Motivate with Kathy Zant and Michelle Frechette. To learn more or to sponsor us, go to WPMotivate.com.